Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. This week we're in Belleville, Kansas with Dan Douglas of Belleville Hometown Lumber. Dan is sharing about his unlikely path as an entrepreneur and how he was able to come back to his hometown and open a business. We touch on community over competition, what it means to bring jobs to his hometown, and how their business growth is having an impact beyond their community. So here we go with Dan Douglas. All right, well, we're here today in Belleville, Kansas with Dan Douglas. Dan, thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming and wanting to hear our story.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about you. Did you grow up in Kansas?
So, yeah, I did. I grew up here in Belleville, born and raised, went to college, came back here, 10 years ago now, almost.
Time flies, huh?
Yeah, it really is amazing. So, but quite the trek to get back here.
So tell us a little bit about that.
I really do have kind of an unconventional path to being an entrepreneur. Nothing that I ever thought of. I left here, thought, I'm going to go play football at a junior college, and I'm going to go into criminal investigation, is what I thought. My father was a police officer, and so that interested me. It still interests me, but I learned that once I got to college, I really didn't have a clue as to what I wanted to do. And so that path kind of changed quite a bit, and actually it changed the first year I was in school. My father passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so at 18 it kind of derailed me. I actually have a twin brother. We both played football. We both kind of did everything. My wife Monica actually says that she cut the cord at one point in time, but that was when we were 25. So that was even a number of years later. But from there at Hutch, I continued taking classes. Moved back home for a year, actually. Worked construction while I was in high school in the summers. Came back home that year, worked construction, went to Cloud County Community College, which is about 20 miles away. Took classes there. Decided that living at home again wasn't necessarily the place to be. So we moved, both of us still moved to Manhattan and took classes at K-State. Shortly after we got there, I started working in a lumberyard. And continued working at that lumberyard for 4 years. In the meantime, I actually quit going to school. Found something that I loved, and what I loved to do was work and actually work with my hands and be involved with day-to-day operations. And I thought that was going to be kind of my career, to be involved in an operations side of a business and not necessarily my own still at that point. So I met my wife, what would become my wife, in 2001. We left Manhattan in 2004. Once she graduated, she decided she was going to leave Manhattan. And I figured if I was going to grow up and if I wanted to be a part of her life, I needed to probably go along with her. So she cut the cord then.
Okay, that's what happened.
And fortunately, wherever I had been, I'd always exceeded or excelled, exceeded expectations, excelled at whatever I was doing. I wasn't a bad student. I was a student who didn't really have that direction or drive because I didn't know what I wanted to do. In hindsight, I'd go back and I would have gotten a business degree, and or I actually would have even considered now going to a vocational school and becoming a plumber or a carpenter, just to have that background, electrician, just because there's so much of a need, especially in the rural areas. It is really lacking at this point in time. That's one thing that I've encouraged so many kids, and when they have me come and speak to the the schools, to the high school students, that's one thing that I always promote. And a 4-year education is not for everybody. It wasn't for me. So I sit here today, kind of getting off track a little bit, but as a business owner without any degree showing that I have a formal education. So I tell those students at the same point in time, I'm the exception, I'm not the rule. So don't necessarily follow my path or walk in my shoes. But having excelled at what I had done at that lumberyard, my boss called a wholesale sales company that supplied us and said, "Hey, I've got a guy moving to Kansas City. You should probably hire him." And so they did. 6 months later, I took a promotion. I was actually running operations for that. I think at that point in time, we were probably a $20 million facility, and I was running transportation, operations, everything for that company. Excelled within that. And then at one point in time, they had about 5 years later, they had a sales position come open in Kansas. And they said, "Boy, it'd really be great if somebody wanted to live in Belleville." And it was in the center of the territory. And at that point in time, too, I covered a little bit of Nebraska, which for anybody listening, we're approximately 10 miles from the Nebraska state line and pretty much in the center of center of the state of Kansas, just south of Nebraska. But they said, "Well, Dan's from Belleville. Maybe he'd want to be in sales." And even though I'm rambling here and I talk a lot, I was not the outgoing, the sales type. I always thought of sales as like the used car salesman.
Yep.
And that's not me. I cannot do that. So I was like, well, if I'm ever going to get out of Kansas City, it's like, this might be my opportunity. But at the same point in time, we were thinking, well, maybe someday then as well, I'll continue to work my way up in the company and keep moving forward. So we took the opportunity and we moved back to Belleville 6 months after I took that promotion. And in the meantime, I took the promotion. 2 months later, we had our first child. 4 months after that, we're moving. Life was crazy, but it was good, especially for me being out of the city, out of the rat race, what I called it. And so many positive things happened to us while we were there. And I don't regret any of that. It kind of broadened my horizon as to, what is out there. And Kansas City's not the biggest city by any means, but big enough for me.
Yeah, when you're used to growing up here, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. My wife was from Kansas City, born and raised. A little bit of apprehension, but we'd been together long enough. She knew what she was getting into. And so we moved. I excelled at that job. Really found that it didn't have to be the used car salesman. My biggest thing, and my kids will say this every time. Number one thing that I hate is lying. And just that honesty, that integrity, telling the customer straightforward, this is what you should do. And that is actually kind of helped us because I think they do have that trust in us. And it's not just me, but it's my people as well. And we'll be straightforward with you. And and we'll tell you if we can't do something as well. And but that led to tremendous success in that position on the wholesale sales side. And I actually then had an opportunity to take a sales manager position in Denver. I knew I did not want to be in Denver. I love Denver. I love visiting Colorado. That's fine. But we decided that if we were going to live anywhere, it was going to be close to family, whether that was my family or Monica's family. We wanted to be either right around them or somewhere in between. And so we knew Denver would not be the correct avenue for us. So I turned that one down, and it wasn't too long after that then that I actually had another opportunity to take the sales manager position in Kansas City.
Wow.
And it just, at that point in time, it didn't feel like that was probably the right opportunity. There were some different things that played into that, and that was fine. But once I turned that position down, it was kind of, to me, the beginning of the end of working for that large, and it was a large corporation at the time. It's since been sold off a couple of different times, and so it's being basically footballed around now. And so in hindsight, the landscape of that company is completely different from what I left. And it's falling off tremendously. I see it because I still buy from that company. So it's kind of shocking to me how things work out.
Yeah.
But
you almost got out of that at the right time without even knowing it.
Yeah, and honestly, it's almost like that's how it's always played out for me, for Monica, for our family. Is we've been in the right place at the right time. And I mean, even though I've got a good head on my shoulders, believe me, I'm not the smartest guy around. I know enough. I know enough to be dangerous, more often than not. But that signaled the beginning of the end, and I started thinking about, I'd actually had 3 different customers. Mind you, I was out calling on lumber yards. I was out calling on hardware stores, and 3 different customers saying, you'd be good in the lumber yard business, in the lumber business. I'd be like, I think you're crazy. But it actually got my wheels to turning, and that's when I started thinking and knowing the territory, knowing the area, thinking, what would be a prime location to be a part of something like that. And when I refer to prime location, I refer to the other businesses around us, whether it's 15 miles away or an hour away, which is when we start running into the box stores, the Lowe's, the Menards, those bigger companies that, the mass advertising that draws, it's things like that. Being an hour removed from that seemed to me like a pretty good place to be. We're kind of on that fringe. And don't get me wrong, we do lose business to those places. But I'd say that our reputation over the last 5 years, our growth has allowed us to probably keep a lot more of those people home than sending them that hour down the road. So I started working on that. I actually have business partners because I did not have the financial capabilities to just buy right in. This is a fairly large location, and I knew, but I actually brought in business partners that own 2 other lumberyards who actually used to be customers of mine.
Okay.
To where I had developed tremendous relationships, and they did not hesitate, but they knew my character. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be eternally grateful. And so we sit here today. We're still tremendous partnership. They're pretty much behind the scenes, but I'm sure we'll kind of get into our expansions and things that we have done there. But they've been pretty hands on with a lot of that stuff too. So, August 1st of 2014. So, in 2 days will be the 5-year anniversary. So we're still here.
Yeah, it's great. You have a very nice place. It's huge, actually.
Yeah, actually, where we're sitting at now, this actually used to be lumber warehouse back here, and so this was not part of the original hardware store. And 2 years ago, we expanded this. We knocked out a huge wall there and expanded into this area, and took out 3 very large overhead doors and finished this whole area. And every year it's been an undertaking of some sort, and I'm tired.
Now you've hit the 5-year mark. Maybe you can stop for a little bit.
Actually, and I don't necessarily remember saying this, but back in April at some point in time, evidently I did say that no more building for at least a year, and they actually made me sign it, and they posted it on the wall up there. And I don't know if it's still hanging there, because I think they figured out that I'm probably a little bit full of it, and they're not going to necessarily be able to control, even if I said something, because I said it after the remodel 2 years ago. I said no more. And then
Here
we are. And this 3 months ago, we built a 10,000 square foot truss plant.
Wow.
So talk about an undertaking. And,
no kidding.
And yeah, it's been interesting.
But how cool, you have a background in that. You have 2 other investors who have a background in that. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing.
It really has been. We've, so we bounce things off of each other. We trade product back and forth. Even though I have no ownership in their businesses, we work well together. It's really, kind of going back to how everything has just worked out for us. The trust business side of it. I'm selling to contractors or carpenters in our area, but the strength of our business is selling to other lumberyards. And so I've fallen back on my wholesale experience and the relationships and the trust that I'd built with those guys to say, guys, we're in the trust business, and it's everybody in this business. They hear, they know what's going on, and whether it's through another sales rep or just mutual contacts, they'd all kind of heard, and well, he's doing this up there, and so I up until 2 weeks ago, I had not made one single sales call on any other lumberyards, on anybody for trusses. That being said, we grew into where I now have, currently with our summer help, which is full-time, I have 8 full-time people in this truss plant, and then I have 4 part-time people that I can call in that have other jobs, but they can, once they get off in the afternoon, they'll come in, and they love it out there. It's such a change of pace. I wish I could be out there more. So it's therapy for me if I can get out of the office and get away from the computer. But it's really worked out well. We're selling to a number of lumberyards, and like I said, 2 weeks ago, I went out and made some sales calls to some. I made sales calls to 4 lumberyards, but before that, we're actually, I think our numbers were up to 12 different lumberyards we're selling trusses to.
Wow. And is that just through word of mouth?
That's through word of mouth.
Wow, amazing.
So yeah, it's worked out very well.
And what a cool thing to be able to bring to your hometown.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I am most proud of is the fact that when we bought the business 5 years ago, there were 6 full-time employees. And if we counted the 4 part-time employees and then our full-time plus our summer help, right now there are 21 employees that are currently on the payroll.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about the business that you took over. Was that pretty established here for a long time?
So that was 4th generation business. Been in business for 120 years. Fourth family generation. So
Wow.
it was well established. And when we purchased the business 5 years ago, we actually purchased 2 locations. We purchased Belleville and Clyde, Kansas. Actually, May 1st of this year, we sold the Clyde location to somebody from Clyde that wanted to take that on and try to grow that business. We unfortunately, my goal always was to grow that business, and we got to the point where I couldn't even make it down there, and this business had just grown so much that we couldn't. It was more of a hindrance than anything, because we could not put that focus into growing the business and making it a profitable business. And so we'd actually looked at closing the location. These people from Clyde heard that we were thinking about maybe closing it, and we were fortunate to come to an agreement, and they purchased the buildings and the inventory from us, and we actually still supply them a little bit and help them out. So it's once again, it's worked out somehow, some way.
That's amazing. Well, I know that your motto is be honest and genuine with your customers.
Absolutely. That is the most important thing, because that will keep them coming back here. To say that the day-to-day everything is just a ball of joy it's inaccurate. But one thing that I do love is customers coming in here and at least feeling comfortable to basically, I mean, I catch all kinds of crap. They are constantly ribbing me about something, and I love it because I'll give it right back.
Yeah.
But to have that relationship, or just to have people want to come in here and talk to you, I can't go anywhere without running into somebody. And if I go somewhere and Monica won't expect me home for another half hour because I'm standing somewhere talking to somebody. And good things and bad things about that. You can't ever keep a schedule, and I don't ever want to make it come off as rude, but I do. I love talking to people, and for the most part, living in a small town, there's so much that you have to do with that to be successful in business, or to be I consider it a productive member of society, because this community, we thrive on farmers. We have to. That is our base, agriculture, and nobody wants them to be more successful than what I do. My business hinges on it, and we've tried to diversify with trusses, with expansion into the more into the hardware side. And 5 years ago when we took over, they had done updates with True Value and tried to remain viable in hardware, and they'd done a great job. So I wasn't buying into a rundown business by any means. They'd done a good job of upkeep. We just kind of brought it into the next generation, and then with the customer relations side of it, it really was primed to take a growth, and we're fortunate we've made that happen. But it wasn't just me. It was maybe a change at the top to kind of spur that a little bit. But great people on board already. I've got a guy that he's been here since I was 2. And
Wow.
I'll put him up against anybody. The most knowledgeable guy. He's a walking encyclopedia. I mean, you show this guy a window from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and he's like, wow, this is that. And it's like,
Amazing.
it is. It is. I mean, the things that he helps us accomplish, yeah, it's amazing. And then a number we've had, well, at this point in time, I guess there's only 2 other employees that are still left here from the changeover. But once again, the knowledge, the experience, it helps tremendously. And then we've been fortunate to find other good people and bring them on board, and continues to help us succeed. Then last year, actually, well, we didn't put the cord back together, but actually sold my brother 5% of the business. And so he is now ownership as well. And he's actually been kind of stuck out in the truss plant for the last 10 months now, full time. So it wasn't necessarily the goal when we brought him over here, but the growth, the expansion, it's the I'm the cart before the horse guy, and it's been kind of pulling us along. We're understaffed, and I know that. Not so much understaffed to where it's hurting business. It's probably hurting my health more than anything. But I'm 5 years in. I've still got bills to pay. I've still got debt that I've got to get rid of, and so I maybe I'm a little tight. That's fine. I put it on myself, but I'm also getting to the point where even just today we're talking about, I need to probably hire more people, and so it's on the radar.
But what a great thing that you can provide jobs for people in your community too.
Like I said, the thing that I'm most proud of, and we're not just minimum wage jobs either. We are far from it. Even my high school help it's not a minimum wage job. If you're gonna work here, we need you to pull your weight. But we're not just gonna pay you a $7.75 an hour wage. We want you to come and be able to pay your bills. I'd love it if I could pay every employee I had more than $20 an hour. And who knows, maybe someday.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that once we're out of debt, those would be things that I would look at, because I want my people to be successful, because I know that I'm not successful without my people. So that is something that is definitely not lost on me, and I wish that right now that I could reward them more for helping us be successful and helping us sustain the growth and continue to grow, even though maybe we'll take a break on the projects. Hopefully the business continues to grow.
Right. So you're 5 years in, coming from the wholesale side to then being an entrepreneur. What are some of the things that you've learned that might be helpful for other people to hear too? Because I think we're all helping each other on this entrepreneur journey.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, 4 years ago, just a little over 4 years ago now, there's a small business, a lumber yard that is 10 miles away from here. And when they were going into business or thinking about going into business, I actually sat down with them and helped them talk through some of the things that I went through. And the main reason I did that is, yes, do we compete? Do we, have some of the same customers and run into those things from time to time? Absolutely. And we're 10 miles away in a town of in a county of 4,000 people. My theory, my thinking behind that is there's enough business to sustain. And part of our success is going out and tapping into other markets. And that's fine. But that small town, they depend on that store just as much as our community depends on our business or our grocery store, things like that, that we are fortunate to have. And we're not, a small town by any means, but we are, 2,000 people. Do I see our growth changing? I absolutely do. Do I want to play a part of that? I 125% do. But the thing that I think of the most is, taking our business, what we do, and don't get me wrong, I'm not the innovator on a lot of things. I was in a lot of lumber yards before I was in my lumber yard. I stole ideas. I was constantly seeing things and thinking, I should do this, I should do that. And taking those ideas and turning them into something that we do every day. And so for us, still communicating with other businesses, whether it's 10 miles away or an hour away, that is what I'm doing now. I would actually, right before you got here today, my True Value rep was in here. And of course, a lot of the reps that come in here, it's kind of different for them because I have so many contacts. I have so many customers of theirs that I have relationships with. And that's not always common in this business. People, but you don't necessarily have that back and forth communication with them consistently. Especially now where I'm selling trusses, it's even more consistent. And we talk about certain businesses that maybe he's talking to, and it's funny because I've talked to the same businesses and they always, there's questions, whether it's, we've got a customer that we sell trusses to that is currently a True Value store, and the point of sale systems and we changed over our point of sale system this year, which I don't know, that's probably a worse overhaul than any expansion we've done. And we'll still struggle with that for a while, but talking about that or about hardware suppliers or about, where do you go buy this, or, just bouncing those things off of people and not being afraid to let them know what works for us. That's fine. I hope, I love to see success, especially with people that I know, good for you. There's some amazing things that are going on that with some other businesses that I know about that would scare me to death. But at the same point in time, people say, well, you've done some pretty crazy things too. And I was like, yeah, I guess I kind of have. But the business has dictated it as well. It's I didn't step into that cart without the horse. It was already going. It was already, the train moving down the tracks. Maybe it wasn't as fast, but it's picked up steam and we're full speed ahead. And we're sometimes being reactionary. We had no intention until maybe January of building this building out here. We had the idea in January. The weather did not cooperate at all this year. April, I think it was April 14th. It was still bare ground, and it was before mid-May. The building was up and fully functional, and we did it all ourselves.
Wow.
So the only thing we hired out was we hired a guy to do the electrical, and we hired a guy to come and do the roof for us, just because we just didn't have an extra day. We needed to catch up on our day-to-day operations. And so 10,000 square feet, concrete, building everything up in less than a month, and building trusses. And once again, I don't know how, but it worked out, because If we did not have that building right now, if we did not have the new equipment that we put into place, we wouldn't be in the truss business. They would have gotten so frustrated with us. There's no way we'd be able to keep up with what we'd done before. And 3 years before that, we'd actually added on to our south building out here, and we'd done a 48 by 120 foot expansion there. So that was over 5,000 square feet. And we thought, well, this is going to be big enough to build trusses in. Boy, were we wrong. It wasn't even close. Our layout was horrible. And at that point in time, we were building trusses. And that's what I'm telling the guys now, is we were building trusses, and we were building our own trusses, and we weren't really pushing to anybody else. But we weren't building, like complicated houses or anything like that. We were building trusses for pole sheds or for garages or, simple additions on a house, things like that, we weren't necessarily engineered. And, once that changed, fortunately, I found a good company to partner with there. They've provided the software, the training, everything for us, and we were able to kind of start branching into the manufacturing business, which even at that point in time, until May of this year, we were not manufacturing. And
Wow.
It is night and day. I mean, you would have gave us a house to build, and it would have taken us probably a week. And now we can do that in a day. And it's, depending on what it is simply amazing, just the technology that has helped us out there. We went from 2 guys on saws to doing maybe cutting out a job in 4 days to 1 guy on 1 saw cutting out a job in essentially a day. I mean, it just really hinges on what it is, but the production is just amazing, the differences, but not planning on that whatsoever.
No wonder you need more help.
Yeah, I never planned on any of it. Do you own a hardware store and a lumberyard? No. You gonna own a truss manufacturing facility? No, I'm not. It's I don't know. I don't know why it's worked out like it has, but it has. So don't look back, look forward.
That's good. So you have mentioned kind of your even untraditional path through school and learning a trade, so to speak, and even how someone saw in you that you would be good at this before you did. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the importance of mentoring people or allowing even people to come job shadow or things like that to figure out what it is you're called to do? Because I struggled with that same thing. Like, I changed my major 5 times. It's hard decision.
I would encourage it wholeheartly. I don't care. I don't care what it is. If you have any interest whatsoever, there's actually a student right now. He graduated this last year, and I didn't know, but he's going to go to the Votech in Beloit and go into carpentry. And he was in here a few weeks ago, and I've actually still got his list of items on my desk that I need to get to him because I told him last week I would get it to him. But he was in here, and he's going to go into carpentry, and he's got all of these things that he needs to get. And I said, give me your list. Let me see what I can do. And just to help encourage somebody to get into that, and then hopefully come back. Whether you end up going into that and thinking, after a while, well, maybe I'd like to do plumbing, maybe I'd like to do electrical, whether it's coming back and starting your own business, I would encourage somebody that I would help them with that. If you need that startup, if you need to help get going, come and see me, because the community, the area needs it. And so we all need to be supportive of those local businesses. Am I biased in that? Absolutely. I've got a big business. I need local support. But we will, and we do help promote business within, whether it's, our business or the grocery store or the restaurants or whatever it is. We all depend on that local revenue on those businesses sustaining and being able to provide the jobs that they provide. And any way that I can help anybody, whether it's encouraging them to go that route or, help them figure out, if you're not sure, take a year. Maybe you'll figure it out. Don't go waste your time or waste your money like I did. I wouldn't say it's a waste. I had fun. I enjoyed my time. But yeah, hindsight, I'd probably do it a little different. But I say that at the same point in time thinking, well, if I did it different, maybe I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And I love what I do. Is it overwhelming at times? Most days. and do I ever think, well, yeah, I need a vacation? Yeah, I do, but everybody does. And that's why I'm the last person that takes a vacation is because my other people need that time as well. And I'm more than happy to help provide that. And, but anything that we can do to help encourage or support growth within the community, whether that's with a young person or with another business, we are all about doing self-promotion or cross-promotion.
What is it that you love about Belleville?
I guess I would say the people more than anything. But I don't have bad experiences. I love growing up here. We'll go back to the fact that I was a BC student. There's a few A's sprinkled in there, but it wasn't setting the world on fire. But it was, so much of it for me was social. It was a social experiment, I guess. And even today, that is so much of what my business is. It's not uncommon for me to be here until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying to catch up on my work. And then I'm turned back around and I'll be here at 7. This morning I was here at 6, but I didn't come back last night. And I thought I'd get here at 6 and catch up on my stuff. And no, that wasn't enough time. But it's so much of what I do is the social aspect and people coming in here and they want to talk to me, and that's fine. I'm the face of the business. And if they feel like, they need to talk to me, then I'm going to try to deal with them the best that I can. And I don't know, people up front all the time kind of say, well, all you do is talk. It's like, yeah, I feel like most days that's what I am. I'm a professional BS guy.
But that's what it takes to run a business too.
Yeah, you've got to be able to relate to your customers. You've got to be able to be involved with your customers. And I truly believe that's a big part of our success with, that you don't get that in larger cities. And I see it with some kind of quote unquote chain stores that maybe they're not large chains that certain people would recognize, but me, being in this business, knowing their business, and the competition, if you will, or what other lumberyards are doing, if they're not homegrown or locally owned, we can step into that market because there isn't the loyalty, there isn't the relationships within the community. And if you don't have that, I think you're lacking, especially in a small town. You get into a city, it doesn't play in because you're even on a small city of 20,000 people or something, it's not, there's not so much that hinges on what you do day to day. It just kind of goes unseen. But with what we do, how we're involved in the community, it's noticeable, and we hope to keep it that way.
That's great. Dare I ask, what's next?
Evidently nothing, because there's a sign up there on the wall or a note up there on the wall that says I signed it and no more projects. I think we'll continue to evolve, whether that's adding different product lines kind of becoming more viable. Maybe like that one-stop shop where we're, we've got the hardware business. It's the plumbing, the electrical, the paint, the hardware. It's the tools. Amazingly enough, and I like to promote this as well. So, Milwaukee Tools. We are the number 2 independent company in the state of Kansas as far as Milwaukee sales go, and we're in a town of 2,000 people. So I'm just, let everybody know that if you find something you're good at, you can succeed in it. And we do very well with Milwaukee Tools. And it's amazing because 5 years ago, I don't know, they may have sold $5,000 a year in power tools. And I would guess that if I actually had to put a number on it, it's north of 200,000. So it's all about that, finding something that you're good at and taking it and running with it. It's not a big margin item, so unfortunately, it's not the best thing to be the best at. But boy, it's amazing. It's amazing what people are into, and tools. People love tools, and but so we evolved into that, and I'd like to say that. We've got a little section back here in the store that we had planned on dedicating to workwear and maybe to boots and things like that. And now I question whether or not we have enough room, but I've already been told to no more projects. So I'm probably not doing that this year. But I don't know. I've got some room to the north, so maybe next year. But we might branch into that a little bit because it's just another thing to help get people in the door.
Yeah.
And, we expanded, and just really, unless you were to see our business and to see the evolution of just the property in general, it has been something, literally something, some sort of project every year, if not multiples. And we're tired, but never say never. So, continue to figure out what the needs are of the community. So we'll see. Workwear is probably on the horizon. Like I said, we've been talking about it, and I just need to find time to do it, I guess.
Or room.
Yeah, see? Yeah. So,
no, that's great.
Yeah, sooner than later, I would say that that's something that we'll be into, and then kind of see where it goes from there. So
that sounds great. Well, how do we follow along and keep up with what you guys have going on here?
Well, unfortunately, we're not very good about promoting ourselves online, but you can follow us on Facebook at Belleville Hometown Lumber in Belleville, Kansas. And really, that's, we do have a True Value website that's provided to us through True Value. It's not something that we actively promote. Something that, like I said, we need to develop our own website, things like that. But really, where we've been fortunate is it's kind of like the trust business, the word of mouth, just that reputation that without the advertisement, it's just kind of grown. And who knows, maybe it could go even bigger if we did start thinking about advertising on primarily probably online a little bit more. But that's the place to be, Facebook. And if you get on there and you follow us, tell Monica to do more promotions or more posts so you guys know what's going on.
Well, Dan, this has been great. Congratulations on all your success, and we can't wait to follow along and see what's next.
Thank you. Yeah, if I do any more projects, I guarantee you she's gonna. They'll be on Facebook.
Good deal.
So you'll know what we're up to.
Good deal. I love it.
So,
thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
Well, I was so impressed by the way Dan runs his business and his willingness to help and pour into others. Investing in the next generation is such an important role in the future of our rural communities, and Dan is setting an example that we can all learn from and bring to our small towns as well. Huge thanks to Dan for being on the podcast, and thanks to you for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Have a great day, everybody.